happy first day of the week of 2018 to you. Appreciate the men leading us in worship this morning in a very inspirational way. And I pray that you have provided to God sacrifices and offerings in the best form and manner that you can, and that God accepts all of our sacrifices this morning. It's indeed our desire to worship God in spirit and in truth and in a manner that He has set forth for us within His Word. We do have a good group of individuals over in the youth conference there, Exposure Youth Conference. According to Jonathan, they are to return by this afternoon's service, so it'll be good to see them. As was announced, notified last night that one of my brothers-in-law, Donald Durst, who I've known all my life, who was Joyce's classmate, graduated together, died last night. Arrangements incomplete, and we'll know more probably this afternoon. Keep my family in your prayers, please, because I've got 3 other brothers-in-law that aren't doing well at all either. So, I believe the older we get, the more we realize just how quickly the years are passing. Time does not stand still, and for me, I think it's getting faster. I don't know about you. Therefore, really, at any age, we should be concerned with a couple of things. We should be concerned with becoming determined to get those things done that we've got to do. And also determined to do those things that we'd like to do. Because time does not stand still for anyone. Paul tells us in Ephesians 5, 15 to 16, therefore, be careful how you walk, not as unwise men, but as wise, making the most of your time. Don't waste time. Time's too short, and it's fleeting. In other words, every year that goes by, that God gives us to live, is a year that we ought to be as obedient to Him as we can be, as productive for Him as we can be, and as pleasing as we can be to God. To assist us to do this, many of us may be thinking about some New Year resolutions. I don't know. We always do at this time of the year. According to USA.gov, the top 4 resolutions have always been lose weight, improve finances, get physically fit, and eat healthier. Well, I'm here to tell you for almost 50 years, I've made these resolutions in various forms. And in every year for those 50 years, I failed every one of these resolutions. That's just the way it has been for me. Now, these are good resolutions. Certainly ones that I thought I should be serious about. But the problem is 4 out of 5 people like me will break them. We'll break them. A survey several years ago said that 1/3 of individuals dropped out after the first month. An article I read last week said that 1/3 will drop out by January the 12th. That's 2 weeks. It can be, and is, very frustrating to want to do something, to set a resolution to do something, and then something happens. We have to wonder, why so many times we bring into a new year some of the same baggage that we brought into the year we're just leaving. We come to the end of another year, and we have basically the same resolutions that we had the year before. We're no further along in our spiritual life, our social life, our physical lives, vocational lives, than we were the year before. We haven't made any progress in some of these important items that year after year after year that we say we're going to try to do, but we don't do. The date changes, but the destinations do not. We resolve to do better, but we don't. We fail in keeping our New Year's resolutions. The start of the year is a perfect time to think about these. Matter of fact, advertisers thinking about them. That's why you'll see a lot of Weight Watcher, Nutrisystem, Slim Fast. You'll see all of these machines, weight machines, etc., Bowflex, cross trainers, etc., being advertised for sale. A new you and a new year in 30 days, Jake. Otherwise, we'll give you money back. A new you and a new year. But why do people have a hard time keeping their resolutions? Why do so many people fail? Is it that I'm just lazy? Weak-willed? I don't believe so. I think we are making these resolutions to try to make changes. But while we want to make the change, I'm not sure that we're really ready to change our habits. We're not really ready for that. If we don't change our habits, we will never wind up accomplishing those resolutions that we've set for ourselves. We'll wind up at the same place year after year after year after year. I know personally it's hard to change habits. It's hard to quit doing something that we've always been doing. And folks, I'm talking to myself this morning just as much as sharing with you. For instance, if you want to read the Bible through this new year, you've got to get up off the couch and quit watching TV. You've got to quit doing these piddling things that's just a waste of time. You've got to quit playing these video games or playing these crossword puzzles on your iPad, all that type stuff, you see. You've got to quit just goofing off. So you've got to change your habits if you want to accomplish something, if you want to do something. We have to be willing to make the change. Now, many years ago, Joyce and I accompanied her brother out to MD Anderson there in Houston. And we were there for 2 or 3 days with him. And I'd go down, we'd go down and kind of walk a little bit, and we would see these patients in the hospital, from the hospital, in their white hospital gowns and everything, and they were rolling their IVs along outside, and guess what they were doing? Smoking a cigarette, or pushing their IVs outside. Some of them, no doubt, was there for lung cancer. It's hard to quit a habit. It's hard to stop. One of those individuals actually asked me for a match. I just don't carry those things. It did seem odd. Then another reason, we may fail in our resolutions is that we think if we lose weight, reduce our debts, exercise more, etc., that all of our problems will be solved. And so when they're not, we kind of lose interest in doing anything. We become discouraged very quickly and revert back to our old habits. Sometimes if we don't see instant results, we quit. We quit. I know that's something that we have to try to get our young people to understand. You don't become a good ball player with just one practice. You don't get this right with just one attempt. Don't give up. We've got to change our behavior. We've got to rewire our brain, no doubt. And over the years, we have set those goals, usually measurable, usually specific. However, I'm more now thinking about setting not a resolution, but coming up with an area of focus maybe. call it the area of focus, and don't make so many resolutions maybe. With a couple of areas of focus. Come up with that. Focus your thinking on that. What do you want to accomplish? Why do you want to accomplish it? Are you willing to see it through? Are you really, really willing to make the sacrifice to make this work? And then, of course, you've got to, as we've talked about, carve out time in your schedule to get it done. Don't get sidetracked. Keep motivating yourself. Don't allow a momentary slip to get you off track. After all, you have determined that this is in your best interest. Now, I believe we've come to the most important part of this area of focus. What area of focus should we choose? What is the most important area where we should focus? What do I need to focus on? In considering this decision, I direct you to Colossians 3:2. Paul says here, set not your mind on the things, or set your mind on the things above, not on the things that are on earth. Set your mind on the things above, not on the things on the earth. Similarly, in 1 Corinthians 9:25, look at this. Paul says here, and everyone who competes in these games exercises self-control in all things. They then do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable wreath. Set your mind on things above and run to win the race, so you will receive an imperishable crown. Shouldn't this be what matters the most to us? Shouldn't it be? Within the next couple of days, I'll be going to be with my family to help us bury my sister's husband. Shouldn't our eternity, shouldn't the future for us, shouldn't that be the most important focus within our lives? 1 Timothy 4:7. Let's look at that just a second. First Timothy 4:7. But have nothing to do with worldly fables fit only for older women. On the other hand, discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness. Now, this is another way of saying, you know, what he's already said. Set your mind on things above. Run the race to receive an imperishable wreath. Now he says, discipline yourself for the purpose of godliness. There in verse 8. For bodily discipline is only of little profit. All the time that you're going to get out there and run around that gym floor or ride that elliptical or pump these weights and all of that is good for, you know, a little bit. But godliness is profitable for all things, since it holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come. Our focus on heavenly things will improve our lives today, and it will improve our afterlife, in that we will be living it with God. Oh yeah, these other areas of focus, you know, losing weight, getting better in shape, eating healthier, etc. Those are okay. I mean, those aren't bad, and they are of a little bit of profit. but the most profit can be gained by thinking on those things above, by running the race for an imperishable wreath. For thinking about godly things. I refer you to our bulletin article this morning. Some focus areas there would include to become a child of God if you aren't already, to be restored into fellowship with God, or maybe to become more spiritual, or maybe to adhere more closely to God's commands and instructions. I'm not sure what you may want to try to focus on. I know what I'm going to try to focus on. You come up with your own area of focus. For instance, reading the Bible. And that's certainly a good area of focus. Now, just to get you thinking, I ask you, have you ever read the whole Bible through? Have you ever accomplished that? As we begin to think about our area of focus, I believe a very good lesson very quickly we can find in the trials of King Solomon, and also within the thoughts of the Apostle Paul. Two men who certainly had a direct connection, okay, and relationship to God, yet several hundred years apart. Let's begin with King Solomon. Let's turn to Ecclesiastes 1, a book written by King Solomon himself. Remember now, King Solomon had asked God to give him an understanding heart, okay, the ability to discern good from evil. He had not asked God for the Publishers Clearinghouse Prize. He had not asked God for all of this money, material wealth, a long life, okay, or the death of Solomon's enemies. Hadn't asked for that, but asked for an understanding heart and discernment between good and evil. God told him, well, because you haven't asked for these other things, I'm going to give you both riches and honor more than any other king. And knowledge. Riches, honor, and knowledge. More than all other. Wow, these gifts, that's what we may set our resolutions to have been in the past. Make more money. Become more honored in the eyes of others, you know. God said, hey, folks, I wouldn't be pleased in those things. That's not what pleases me there. Think about that as we make our focus, think about our focus areas. We believe that those gifts would set us on the road to happiness. These gifts are often the subject of our dreams and wishes. Yet God tells Solomon, I am very pleased that you didn't ask for these. Yes, one may find it strange that Solomon was given all of these things. Yet there, as chapter 1 opens up, we find Solomon searching. He's troubled. He's wondering about something that has proved to be elusive to him. There in Ecclesiastes 1:3, what profit has a man from all his labor in which he toils under the sun? In other words, why do I exist? Why am I living? Why am I living? 1:12 and 13. I, the preacher, was king over Israel and Jerusalem, and I set my heart to seek and search out by wisdom concerning all that is done under heaven. What's the meaning of my life? What am I doing? And to this end, the wisest man himself, Solomon, who ever lived, considered everything. Look there in chapter 2. The whole chapter there talks about what he did to try to find out, well, what's life all about? What's the meaning of life? What's the most important thing? What's the area of focus? Well, he tries to make the area of focus material, physical, sexual, He tries all this stuff. Look there. Verse 4, I made my works great, built myself houses, planted vineyards, made myself gardens, orchards, water pools, male and female servants, gathered for myself silver and gold, acquired male and female singers, became great, excelled more than all who were before me. Look there in verse 10, whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I did not withhold my heart from any pleasure. Some 700 wives, 300 concubines, etc. Then I looked on all the works that my hands had done, look there in verse 11, and on the labor in which I toiled, and indeed, Solomon here calls it vanity and grasping for the wind. His focus of life, would it be all of these things? He says they're worthless. They're worthless. And we could go on. Look there at verse 18. I always have to laugh at this stuff. I know a couple of people who did this, and their sons blew their money within a year after the dad had died. Verse 18 there. Then I hated all my labor in which I had toiled under the sun, because I must leave it to the man who will come after me. Verse 21, for there's a man whose labor is with wisdom, knowledge, and skill, yet he must leave his inheritance to a man who has not labored for it. This also is vanity. I know a certain individual he's dead now. I knew a certain individual who had millions of dollars. Left it to the son. Within 5 years, the son was broke. All of it gone. All of it gone. So this is what Solomon's talking about there. I work all my life, make all this money, save it, and give it to somebody, and next thing you know, they blow it. It's vanity. All of this is vanity. We could go on. 5:10, Ecclesiastes 5:10. He who loves silver will not be satisfied silver. He who loves abundance with increase, that's vanity. Chapter 6, no satisfaction in wealth, in children, in labor. Now, considering Solomon's findings, what area of focus should we zero in on? What area of focus should receive our attention? Solomon has tried everything under the sun. Everything. All material, physical, and sexual pleasures the world has to offer, Solomon has had it all, and he still comes up lacking. What is his conclusion? Look there in Ecclesiastes 12:13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. In other words, what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? Why am I here? Solomon says, fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. That's what Solomon finds out. The wisest man, other than Jesus, of course, that's ever lived on the earth. This is his conclusion. Yet, so often, we chase after all of these things that Solomon has said is vanity. Is vanity. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we shouldn't care for our family. We shouldn't take care of our family. We shouldn't do these things to take care of our family. But we have to be careful in these things, because it could cause us to come up short. Let's consider the Apostle Paul very quickly. 1 Corinthians 9, verse 27. I read a part of that a while ago. We'll get back to it here. 9:24. Do you not know that those who run in a race all run, but only one receives the prize? Run in such a way that you may win. Everyone who competes in the games exercises self-control in all things. They then do it to receive a perishable wreath, but we an imperishable. Therefore, I run in such a way as not without aim. I box in such a way as not beating the wind. But I buffet my body and make it my slave, lest possibility after I have preached to others, I myself should be disqualified. Paul here shares that all of us run in a race, all right? or anyone who participates in these Olympic type games that he's referring to there, the Isthmian games there in Corinth. All of those individuals who run in that race have made certain resolutions. In their mind, they have a purpose, they have a focus, they have a goal. And they have made commitments, all right, to do whatever it takes to win that race, to win the goal. Because there is no second place, second prize in those particular races there. The winner gets it all. It's either all or nothing. But what they receive is a bunch of greenery that they can hang around their neck that will be dead, stale tomorrow. A bunch of dead flowers. They train all they want to. They can run the mile in 4 minutes. They can eat all the right foods. They can drink them raw eggs in that green liquid, you know. They can get in tip-top shape and actually win, but they win flowers that fade and die. That perishable wreath there represents the material possessions, okay, upon the face of the earth. And sooner or later, we know that all of these material possessions will burn up. 2 Peter 3, 7 to 10. Let's turn there. That's got a good ending thought there. 2 Peter 3. Want to go to, there in verse 10 talks about how the fire is going to come, intense heat is going to burn everything up. Let's look at verse 11. Since all these things, talks about, that's the fire, okay, burning everything up. Since all these things are to be destroyed in this way, what sort of people ought you to be in holy conduct and godliness? Since all of these things are going to be burned up, all the physical things are going to be burned up, and our bodies are going to turn to dust anyway, you know, Peter asks, since you know all of that, what sort of people should you be? What area of focus should you delve into? What focus area will you choose to be the most important? You see, too often I believe we spend our time running in the race, running it for a perishable wreath. Too many times our New Year's resolutions are after perishable wreaths. Solomon found material, physical, sexual pleasures of this life are all vanity. And Paul says that material, physical, and sexual pursuits of this world all perish and fade. Therefore, considering what Solomon said, considering what Paul said, we should place our emphasis on those things that really matter. Those things of lasting value, those things that provide to us an imperishable crown. Those are the most important things in life. And God says it will assist us here now. Of course, he's talking about within the church, how we can become edified, to help each other and to be stronger. We will be better for it now and also later. Because of it, we will be saved, you see. And King Solomon agrees with Paul's assessment there in 3:2, set your mind on things above, not on the things that are on earth, which would be the perishable things. Therefore, I suggest to you this morning to read the Bible through, or to become a better informed child of God, to make personal changes that you need to make within your spiritual life. I read Matthew 6, 19. I want to go back there. It's Jesus talking here. Matthew 6, 19. Do not lay up for yourselves treasure upon earth. All right, there's your material goods. Where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in or steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Jesus says the same thing that Solomon and Paul has said. These areas of focus that we usually choose may be of little benefit. But the area of focus that will provide the most benefit for us now and later will be those heavenly things. Those things that are above, the imperishable wreath. That's what will matter. Today it may be that you need to become a child of God by obeying him in baptism. Acts 2:38 talks about repent and be baptized. And that's an immersion into water. Romans 6 talks about us being immersed, being covered, and coming up and walking in the newness of life. Acts 22:16. Basically, Ananias was telling Paul, why wait? Be baptized for the forgiveness of your sins. If you haven't ever been baptized and added by the Lord to his church, I encourage you to think about that this morning. If you have and then wandered away, then you need to repent of those sins. I want you ready for the future. I want every one of us ready for the future because we don't know what it holds. We don't know what it holds. Either way, it would be a great way to start this new year. For any reason we can help you this morning, let it be made known now while we stand and sing.